Hey guys, welcome to our channel. So yesterday we did a video showing these infinite calculations that could be made, and I once again hope that anybody interested will stick with me on this. This is a little deep and this is a little complicated, but um, I want to get into this and I want to show you something else that I found out. So um, refer to yesterday's video where we showed how MN changed to 1314 in the alphabetic order. And then you could turn that back around and convert it to that, ACM, ADN. And then you could convert that back to that, and that to that. And the conversions would just keep going and get bigger. And you could do the same if you started with the numerology side. And I realized that at some point you'd have, all the letters of the alphabet, some more than others, and you'd have these giant number sequences, which may be where it's at. And I also realized that this would be your fingerprint, would be the fingerprint of the calculation. This initial change. That's probably why we're finding our quantum network suspects right here in this initial sequence. And this is Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. I love rock and roll. Stand and change to dancing, and your extractions were STC. And I went ahead and converted that to 1920 and 3, the alphabetic order. And then I used the alphabetic order again and changed that to AIB or AISBTWC. And then we just kept going. I believe I used the numerology chart and converted it to here. And then took the numerology chart again and converted it to these letters. And then the letters to numbers. And it would just keep going. And it would run calculations all the way through. And then if you started, of course, with the numerology chart, you'd wind up with STC is 1, 2, 3, and then you could convert that and go down the same path. And I realized that eventually the computer could mash all these together. MN 134 AC M ADN 134145, and it would just keep going. And in the case of this Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, I love rock and roll, you have STC 19203, and it just keeps going. And you could then start to run the letters and the numbers. And as an example, I took MN 134 here. All right. And there's so I took MN 134, and what did I find? I ran the stock market and I found Commercial and Financial Chronicle, MN 134, right here. The open market rates to call or for call loans on the stock exchange. All right. And I also found, then I went ahead and ran through genetics here, and I found MN 134. And I went ahead and looked at this on a different deal, this worm base. And allele, MN 134. And what is an allele? One of two or more alternative forms of a gene that arise by mutation and are found at the same place on a chromosome. So so MN 134 is a gene variation. All right. You also have this number and letter sequence down here if you wanted to go farther down the rabbit hole. and I don't know where to look for these things. I also found, and I realized that dates would be important. So let's suppose we got June 30th here, which so June 30th, 2020. If you wind up with a date, which we have before, and I ignored those. Basically, I'm going, well, that's just a date. Just a date. June 30th, 2020. What happened on June 30th, 2020? On June 30th, 2020, Iran issues arrest warrant against Trump for Soleimani killing. Iran has issued an arrest warrant for President Trump over the January missile strike that killed General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. Iran's state news agency FARS reported Monday, June 30th, 2020. So you could, with these dates, you could certainly find potentially significant things that happened on dates that you may find in these decodes. And I never thought of that before. And I think it's also worthy of note that these would go farther down probably, so you'd have an even longer number and letter sequence than this or this. And once again, the fingerprint of these would be right here. STC, those were your extractions. That's where this started. In this case, MN. M changed to an N, manwich. That's where it starts. That's going to be different. That's going to give you a whole different set of stuff to look at on your way down the rabbit hole. But I also realized that you could, once you got this far, you could start writing equations. Say MN over AMC times 134,145 plus AJ over or divided by 123. And then you could say 123 to the 12th power if I could put the powers here. And this equation could keep right on going. Minus S times DMV, say squared, or the square root of DMV. Plus the square root. If you could do square roots I can't do it on the computer, but how about 1023 plus 1023, and you could just go and write an enormous equation, or you could write a series of smaller equations. In this case, sorry about that. In this case, you might have S equals, TC. I'm just spitballing here times 1, 9, say plus A over, TWC to a power, to the 10th power, to the, well, is there 10? Yeah, 10's in there. Times 99. And you could just keep going and write this in either really long equation or a really short equation. or I mean, a series of shorter equations or a really long equation. But you can see that this is different than this. Even if I wrote them the same, your variables are different, your numbers are a little different. And it all starts right here with your extractions and right here with your first conversions. And this conversion is different than this conversion, and so on. And so you'd have different letters in there multiple times. Um, and it would all be just a little bit different based on what you started with. And so they would not only probably run these like MN134, and you could scramble these numbers and letters together and get who knows what out of the categories. And then you could turn around and write equations that I couldn't begin to understand or solve. So, and then the dates are important, more important than I ever thought. So, different equations, different things you can find if you combine the letters and numbers. All comes back to what you started with, the initial extractions, your direct changes or your direct extractions, what actually changed in an effect. And so yeah, this wouldn't be, I just kind of cut it off here. I just kind of cut off right here at this, but I put an equal sign here because once again, you could convert that again. You get an even bigger sequence. You could convert this again and get a bigger sequence. You could convert this again over and over infinitely. And the equations you could write would be mind-boggling. And the information that you could get out of here, STC19, I don't know. Let's just STC19 genetics. I mean, who knows? Here, gray STC19 flat bill high profile snapback hat, Grifted Genetic Labs. STC19 National Swine Registry. Well, you wouldn't need the 19. How about STC1 protein? Even if you did that, STC1 is not essential for growth and development. Well, it's not essential for growth and development. Here's the STC1 gene. And it's a glycoprotein that was first identified in fish as a hormone secreted by corpuscles of Stanius, an organ unique to the bony fish. So you're dealing with protein. Doesn't necessarily say it's a protein coding gene, but you got an STC1 gene here. So, and the farther down the rabbit hole you go, the more work it's going to be, obviously. So maybe we don't want to go here. And I couldn't begin to write equations. Well, I guess I could begin to write equations, but my fiance would be far better at this than me. That end of it. But we could combine the letters and numbers. Say you could take MN and 1314 and ACMADN, and you could even take it a step farther and add these numbers, and you could combine all that, and who knows what you'd get out of it. And I'm certain that that gets done. So my fiance told me it'd be a lot of work and I might hate myself by the time I got into some stuff like this. And she's probably right. But, I could always back out and say, well, we're going to go back to what we were doing and then maybe combine one series of letters and numbers and just see what's there, without going all the way to the bottom of the infinite hole. So anyway, I think I'm going to let this video go at that. Some interesting stuff there. But again, the fingerprint of these calculations are going to be in your initial extractions. That's what's going to set each one apart. And again, that's probably why we're finding, most of our quantum network users right there in the extractions, because that's where it would be. And then everything else would just exponentially get bigger and more calculation points. So anyway, we'll figure out where we're going to go with it and how we're going to address it. And don't forget the dates. The dates, who knows what they could be looking up that happened on certain dates in various realities and seeing the variation of what happened. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thumb up if you get anything out of these videos. It's a lot of work. So, but hopefully we'll come out with finance later on today or tomorrow or this weekend or for our alphabetic order for Manwich. So for now, guys, thanks for all your thumbs up, thumbs down when appropriate. Thanks for all your comments, leads, feedback, and subscriptions. And thanks for watching, guys. And for now, you guys have a great rest of your day.